of values of a data type. So here we have the standard way to declare an array. Now notice this is just declared. We're not giving it any values. Another way to declare an array with assigned values is in this manner. So int, you have brackets which tell me, or rather tell the code that this is an array. My second array. Now, I'm just going to open curly braces and I'm going to put numbers and separate them by a comma. So here we have 4634. I want you guys to look at these two ways of declaring an array. Remember that declaring an array. Remember that this is syntax. This is not something that I came up with. This is not something that we can just go against. So let's break this down. Int brackets means this is an integer. Sorry, this is an array of integers. Then my int array, this is the name of my array. So this is a variable, but it's not just a data type, a singular data type. This is a collection of values of a data type, but it's still a variable. As you can see local variable, int array of ints, call my int array equals, and we have this keyword new, and this is how you declare the array from scratch. Int, and then the brackets 4 and the closing brackets. This means that this is an array with 4 slots that you can assign value to. Now here, the new int brackets, it's done implicitly. And what is done explicitly is giving it values. So again, this is also an array of integers with 4 values. Now, if I want to give my int array values, I can just take advantage of the 4 slots that I know this array has. Now, the way to give values to this open spaces is through indexing. So indexing starts at 0. So the index 0 would be the first item. So if I say my int array, then we have the brackets again, 0. This is accessing the first item in the array, or rather the first slot that it's open. I can just give it a value. So I'll give it 9. And there we go. We've assigned a value to the first slot. And then we can do the same for the other ones. The other 3 open spaces. If I can get my keys to work. Let's see. So now we're accessing the slot 1, which is the second item. Just give it just simple values will do for now. And lastly, the 4th item would be index of 3. Now, this is 2 different ways of declaring and assigning values to an array. So if I want to access the information, it's very similar to how we assign it, only there's no equals, and we're just telling it to give us a value. So my int array, and then having the index of 3 will give me back this 6 that I'm assigning here. So let's just run this. And there you go, we have our 6. Now, I understand this is a lot, and I'm going through this fairly fast. I want you guys to ask me questions and tell me what's hard to understand. Again, this is syntax. I didn't come up with it, and this is something we have to avoid for. Some things to note, again, indexing starts at 0, 9 being the first item in my int array. And arrays have fixed number of items that are available to it. But if I change the declaration, I can then add to it. And I can keep empty spaces. So I have values in 0, 1, 2, 3 indexes, so the first 4 items, and I can just skip all the way to the end. And index of 8 will give me my 9th item, so I can assign value to it, and I don't have to assign value to the rest of the items. But if I try to reference them, I might have issues because again, there's nothing in it, but those spaces are available. When I'm declaring an array and giving it values, I can't just skip the assigning of values. I have to make sure that this is receiving, I am actually giving it real values as I'm declaring it. This is only when we're using the brackets here to declare it and assign value to it. And now I can access my 8th space. My index of 8. This gets a little confusing to talk about, even for me. Now arrays are used. Here you go. So I'm accessing back this space, this index of 8. The value in my int array is 35 as I defined it. Now notice when I try to access a value that I haven't given it, we get a 0 because this is more or less a null value, a value that is empty. So for integers, a 0 is like an empty string. We'll get more into it later. As I was saying, it is a little confusing, and it's good for you guys to know we don't use arrays much in programming because we have lists, and we're going to talk about lists later. Lists are more flexible and they're just more common to use. But again, this is something that I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to be able to recognize this at the very least. And if I ask you to create an array, that you'll have a rough idea of what to do, and that you can then reference maybe W3 Schools or reference Stack Overflow, so that you guys can be able to use this on your own if necessary. Now I'm going to access my second array in a very similar fashion to my int array. And if I access the index 3, I should get a 4 because, again, index of 3 is the 4th item in my array. So let's just wait for it. And there it is. Now, something to note is that I cannot go beyond the boundaries of the size of my array. So this, my int array, it's a size of 9. It has 9 slots with the highest index being 8. So if I try to access my int array at an index higher than it's defined, it's going to give me an error. And there you go. It's telling me that it's out of range. So I'm not able to reference this. To get a similar issue with my second array, we just have to make sure we have to see which index would be out of range. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I try to access the index 11, it's going to give me the same error, but now we're trying to reference my second array. There you go. But if I go for 10, still within range, and I should get a 4 back. And there it is. So this is just a crash course as far as integers are concerned and how arrays work in general. Let's talk about a little bit about strings now. Now again, arrays are just a collection of values of a data type. So to declare an array of strings, you have this string brackets and then the name of your array. And as you can see here, I'm just giving it I'm just declaring the 3 values that it's going to have right off the bat. If I want, I can do something like this. If I wanted to, it would just be new string bracket, then 3 close brackets, and then don't forget the semicolon. So let's run this. Let's see what happens if I try to reference 3. Now 3 is going to be outside of my range because the range goes 0, 1, 2, and there it is. But if I change this to 2, then it'll show up. 6, there it is. All right, let's go into how can we assign values through input. So what I want, if I want to have an array, of 4 slots, and I want to be able to call in the read line to give it values to it. An idea that I had is that I can use a loop, I can use a while loop, I can use a for loop, I can use a do while loop, but any loop will do really. So here I'm going to use a for loop. What I want to do first though is to declare my array first and foremost. So let's see, I want it to be strings, so I'll do string brackets my array equal new. Remember the keyword new, and then we redo the string and now the brackets, but we're gonna have a number in it this time around. So if I run this, it's going to go to the for loop. It's going to write a prompt each time that the loop runs, asking me for a name, and then we have a temporary string whose scope is only within the for loop and below line 44 that is going to read back what's coming from the console. And then what we're doing here is we're doing, hey, my array brackets I equals to the temporary string. And if you guys understand for loops, you should be able to say, oh, okay, so the first time the for loop runs is going to say my array at index of 0, which is our first item, is going to be equal to what's coming back. And then it'll be my array at index 1 the next time, 2, then 3, and then that stops because at 4, the for loop runs out of here. And then I want to see what happens if I just tell it to write the array. If I put the variable name of my array in the right line, let's see what's going to happen. And if something goes wrong, let's see how we can fix it. But for now, I just want you guys to see how this could work. So saying write a name. Conveniently, I have 4 names because I am from Mexico. And so my first name is Luis, and it runs again the for loop. This prints the second time. And so I'm going to put my middle name, Gerardo. Then again it runs, and I have 2 last names. So my first last name is Ramirez, and lastly Venegas. So once I click enter, it's going to read my value here. I'm going to assign to temp string, and then here my array at index of 3, because I has a value of 3 at this point in time, is going to set equal to Venegas, and then it's going to come back to the for loop. Notice that we no longer is I less than 4 because I is 4 now, so our condition is broken, gets out of the loop, and it comes to line 49, and let's see what happens. So this is from line 49. It's a system.string brackets, which means that it's just telling us what kind of data type my array is, because it's not supported to just simply use write line for an array, but we can access the values of our array if we use another for loop that is again calling that my array bracket I, brackets I in between the brackets, because again, if you understand for loops, you know that this is saying, hey, what's my array at index of 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and it'll print all of the values that we have in the array. So let's do this. Luis, Gerardo, Ramirez, Venegas. And then it prints back again, Luis, Gerardo, Ramirez, Venegas. I'm telling it to have a new line for each name. This is how arrays are used. This is how we're going to use them. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please, let's talk about this. Again, I'm always excited to talk to you guys, to know when there's something that is not clicking, what can we do to make it click. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you.